You're listening to the Love Over Addiction podcast. Hey, how are ya? I have quite a lot to share with you today. So I'm going to start out with a personal story, and then we're going to do something fun. We're going to do a visualization, but you don't need to close your eyes, so you can listen and do it while you're driving. And then I'm going to share another personal story that has absolutely nothing to do with addiction, but I just thought it would make you guys laugh. And as soon as it happened, I was like, I need to share this with you. So let's get cozy and let's begin. The first story I'm going to tell you is, again, personal. It's about my daughter, and I have her permission to share this because she is light and joy and has the most amazing sense of humor and can completely laugh at herself, which one of my favorite characteristics about her. So we're applying to colleges because I'm going to be real with you. First of all, applying to colleges, the whole process is ridiculous. For those of you out there, I've complained about this before, and I apologize because I'm sounding like a broken record, but we have a lot of kids, so we have to go through this many, many times. And we're on kid, number 2 in our home that's going off to college. And it's just these applications and what you have to go through and how you have to craft a story about your kid. And anyways, I understand why colleges require that. I do. I get it. It's just a lot of work, and it is a we thing because kids need help a lot of times when they're 17 years old and filling out applications. So it's kind of become this group effort in our family to help walk her through this process. And she selected her dream school, and which is great. Hallelujah. We had to go through 9,280 schools to get to the one that she thinks she should go to. It's a stretch school, meaning it's not a shoo-in for sure. My daughter, bless her heart, struggles with dyslexia, as do I. It's a hereditary thing, so I passed it along to her. And so it's not like an obvious shoo-in. She has to work her booty off for good grades. And she's always been a super determined person. But during middle school, she had to go to a special school for kids with learning disabilities. And where am I going with this? How does this pertain? You're like, Michelle, I thought this was an addiction podcast. It is. Hold tight. So part of this college application process is doing interviews. You can elect to sign up for an interview with the school, and because of COVID, everything's on Zoom. So she had an interview, and it's with a fellow student, typically a senior. So she's nervous, but again, because of her dyslexia, she has amazing work ethic already. So she's crafted this email of all these notes of questions she thinks they're going to ask her, but she's not sure. So she's got bullet points. She's super organized. And 3 days before the interview, she asks me, she said, Mom, will you mind taking a look at this? Tell me what you think. Is there anything I need to add? I said, no, this is amazing. Good job. 2 thumbs up. You're going to do great. And she's, again, a really joyful, happy person. So I think she's going to do great. She thinks she's going to do great. She doesn't do great, guys. She does not do great. I was at my other son's track and field meet, and she calls me and she said, Mom, I bombed. I blew it bad. And I said, Lauren, are you sure? Are you sure you're just not being critical? And she's like, no. I really blew it. She said, the Zoom call started, I was ready. I was prepared. I had all my notes, but then this senior girl pops up on my screen, and she's gorgeous, Mom. She's beautiful. She's the most beautiful girl. And was wearing a low crop top so I could see I could see her boobs a little, and that was distracting. And then she was so beautiful, and that was distracting, and it just threw me off. And I don't do well around really, really pretty girls. I felt really intimidated, Mom, right away. And so I kind of went into this like embarrassed mode really fast. And I was like, well, what did you say? Like, what happened on this interview? And she said, well, they asked me, like, if I were to do a TED Talk, what would I choose to talk about? And I said, okay, that's a good question. How did you respond? And she said, I responded that I'd talk about The Godfather and crime, like organized crime. Okay. I didn't anticipate that, Lauren. Is that because you're currently reading the Godfather book? And she said, yeah, it was just the first thing that popped to my head. I thought, okay, all right, well, that's not so bad. I mean, it is an interesting topic, right? And then I said, well, what else did they ask you? And she said, well, they asked me if I could be anyone in the world, who would I choose to be? Again, another interesting question, very telling. Didn't anticipate it, right? You know what she said, guys? She said, bless her heart, I just love her. She said she'd be Megamind. You know, like the blue animated character on the kids movie. She said she'd be Megamind. And I forget the reasons why. They were actually very creative reasons. But I'm just thinking this is a pretty competitive school. And I bet they have never heard that answer before. And then they said, okay. I said, okay. And I'm trying as a mom, and you guys that are parents can understand this. I'm trying to like keep a quiet mouth, and I'm driving, and I'm thinking, And then she said, I said, what else? What else did they ask you? Like, give me another question. And she said, well, we talked a little bit about Megamind, and the girl said, she didn't care for that movie very much. But then they asked me, what was the greatest struggle that I've been through academically? And my daughter's been through a lot, right, because of her learning disabilities. So she chose to mention that she went to a middle school for kids with learning disabilities and how difficult she found it transitioning into a typical college prep high school, and how she really struggled the first 2 years. And I thought, okay, all of this is true, right? Like, these are good, honest facts. But do we really, we have 30 minutes, and I just don't know if I would have chose to lead with that. So I said, well, okay, that's fine, Lou, but that's her nickname, Lou. Did you happen to mention that this year is your first year taking, 4 AP classes, and that you're getting all A's, and that, you've really found your rhythm? And she said, no, I forgot that. I said, okay, did you happen to mention that you want to be a special ed teacher and use all of your, learning differences to really help other kids who are in need of help and love and care? No, I forgot that too. So as a mom, I was driving, nearly drove off the road. I was like, okay, well, listen. I was trying to find the positive here. And then it hit me. And this is the theme of this podcast today. It hit me that I am so flipping proud of my kid, because she was real, she was honest, and she was true to herself. She wasn't shiny and sparkly, and she didn't do a great job of marketing all of her wonderful qualities that she has. But instead, she was honest. And those are things that she's really interested in. You guys, my kid loves Megamind. She watches it, she thinks it's hilarious. She gets a lot of creative inspiration from it. It speaks to her, okay? That's perfectly acceptable. Geniuses made that movie, right? The Godfather. It's what she's reading. My kid's reading a book, you guys. I'm proud of that fact, especially with technology these days. So she's reading it for fun. So let's be proud of that, right? And she did go to a school for kids with learning disabilities, and she was held back a grade, and she worked so hard that she actually skipped a grade. So yeah, I mean, so what if she didn't have all these perfectly shiny, wonderful answers that made her look like a superstar? She is a superstar. And I was telling her, I said, listen to me, Lou. I told her all of that. I'm so incredibly proud of you for just being who you are. And if this school doesn't see your brilliance and doesn't see that you would be a true gift to their institution, then it's not the school for you. And we'll find somewhere else. There's what, you guys, I don't even know, but 1,000 colleges out there. We can find another one out there that is a good fit for her, right? Someone that would actually love the answers that she provided, instead of sitting there trying to change who she is and get someone, this is where I'm going with this, to approve or like her. She just sticks to who she is and is willing to be open to the idea of changing her expectations, changing where she wants to go, changing her direction, her trajectory, right, of her life to find a better fit. And this is what I thought about with you guys. Listen, you are who you are, and you are wonderful and unique. And there are things about you that make you extra, extra, extra special. Really, you have one of the most caring, thoughtful hearts. You are here on this earth to help make it better. You have absolute purpose in your life. And I'm not talking about huge, gigantic purpose, although maybe that's your thing, but also maybe just a quiet, soft purpose to love and the people that you encounter on a regular basis. But if you are with somebody who is addicted to drugs and alcohol, and they do not see you for your greatness, if they do not see you for who you are and how unique you are and how wonderful you are, then it might be time to reevaluate and choose something different, right? It's like my daughter with this college. If they don't see how great she is, then I don't want her to go there anyways. It means she's not a fit for that particular place. And she can find something else, someone else, some other place that can value her and love her. And so can you. I think when you love someone with addiction, I know I certainly did, come into that relationship with very low self-esteem and, quite honestly, very low self-awareness of who we are and the gifts we have to offer. And so we find our worth in the love. We measure our worth based on the amount of love that we get back from our partners. The problem with that is that A, it's incredibly unhealthy to do with anyone, regardless if our partners are suffering from addiction or not. And B, especially when we love someone with addiction, we're asking somebody very sick and with their own set of problems and with very, very little lack of awareness and self-worth to not place value on our lives, but to dictate the value that we have on ourselves. That's vulnerability at its worst, right? Like, that's not healthy. That's not good. And so how do you find out and how do you discover who you are truly, so you can stop trying to change into something you're not? You stop wasting your time doing that. You stop conforming into a person or a version of someone that you think you should be, or that you think your loved one suffering from addiction would love even better. I know for me, it was when I was in love with somebody suffering from addiction, I thought if I was thinner, and I thought if I was a better mom, and I thought if my house was cleaner, like if I was a better housekeeper in my own home, Like if the books were perfectly stacked, or, all of the laundry was done and it had that really fresh scent smell. I mean, this is how delusional I was. Then I thought, oh, then I'd be the perfect housekeeper and he would get sober because he'd see how valuable I was. Or if I looked thinner, maybe he wouldn't have affairs with other women. I mean, it was bonkers. Rather than sitting there saying, this is, if I just changed, he would love me more and get sober. Why didn't I just say to myself, hey, Michelle, you know what? You're pretty good as is. You got a little work to do here. So does everyone. But your core, your essence, who you are, it's actually really wonderful. And if you're with somebody who doesn't recognize that or celebrate that, consider the idea of changing partners, not yourself. So that's, how do we know, though, who we are? Because, again, what I mentioned earlier is we kind of have this, if we're so dependent on someone else defining us, we hand over our power and our control. So part of growing up and part of being mature and part of owning our decisions is understanding our benefits, our values, really getting a clear picture of who we are. We can't get self-esteem or confidence if we don't have self-awareness. It doesn't work that way. Otherwise, it just feels fake. You feel like you're faking it, right? So this is where we're going to walk into the visualization, okay? We're going to figure out who you are. And it doesn't have to be complicated. And you can do it once, you can do it 12 times, doesn't matter. And maybe every time you'll discover something new. Now, warning, this visualization, I just made it up. It's not scientifically based. I did not read this in a book. This is from my own head. Actually, I made it up. It came to me while I was meditating this morning. So I got really excited and I was like, ha! So I just made it up this morning. If it's crap, I apologize. I haven't even had time to really consider the idea that it's crap. But if it came to me during meditation, you got to think it might be good, right? Okay. And it's weird too, by the way. It's going to be weird. But who cares? Because weird is fun and weird is good. And we can get a lot of things from weird. So here's the deal. I want you to use your imagination. Now, if you're creative, like my daughter, you will have no problem tapping into that imagination. If you're logical and you're more of a numbers and factual person, yeah, this might be a bit of a stretch for you. But you were a kid once. I'm sure you had lots of imagination when you were a child. Try to tap into that, okay? So here it is. I want you to imagine. This is the weird part. I want you to imagine yourself with your 3 closest people in your life. So they could be your siblings, your friends, your parents. They cannot be the person that you are in love with who suffers from addiction. That person is not in this visualization at all. So pick the 3 people that you are closest with. Who are the people that, if you look at your iPhone or your phone or whatever and you scroll through, who are you most calling on your phone history, okay? Okay, now, again, the weird part. I want you to visualize, use your imagination, that someone in your life, in your circle, not one of those 3 people, but somebody else has died. Now, it cannot be your loved one who suffers from addiction. Again, they're not a part of this, okay? But somebody in your life died. So when I was doing this visualization, I don't even know why I went there. See, I told you it was weird. I think I was visualizing, I don't know why, but I was visualizing my mom at my funeral, or my mom had passed and it was me and my 2 siblings and we were arranging her funeral. So that was my example that randomly popped up in my head. My mom is not dead. She's very much alive and healthy as far as I know. I mean, I haven't talked to her in a couple weeks, but so imagine somebody who's passing, okay? And you are surrounded by these other people in your life. I want you to imagine your role in the funeral planning, okay? So are you the person who is type A and loves to organize the caterers and, meets with the funeral home and selects the coffin and finds the date and just is like very, very, very meticulous about organization, likes to take on a big project and says, okay, this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to do it? Are you that type of person? Or are you the type of person that is incredibly social and you are the one who is probably going to speak at the funeral? You're the one who's probably going to stand at the funeral door, the church door, or whatever, and greet everybody. You're the one who's probably going to send out the invites, make the phone calls, make sure everybody knows the location and a date and time. You're the social one. Or are you the one who tends to be a little bit more shy, a little bit more reserved? Perhaps you're a little bit more private and behind the scenes. And you're the one who's going to take care of all of the details that no one else has thought about, right? You're the one who's probably going to notice if somebody's having a really difficult time. And you're going to be the one who goes over and puts your arm around them or brings them a warm cup of something to drink or puts your hand on their leg and asks if they're okay. You're like more of the quiet one. What is your role in this very sad and very tragic fantasy? What is going on here? How are you reacting to this? Where is your comfort zone? And just using your imagination will help you understand who you are and how people perceive you. What are your strengths? What do you like to do? Another way to use your imagination to help discover who you are is what are you wearing? That sounds very silly, but it's a very big clue. Are you, meticulously dressed? Is the clothing and the outfit very important to you? Or are you casual and are you not at all concerned about your appearance? Is it something where you put on the back burner because it's just not a priority in your life right now? Really imagine yourself and all of these clues. The more details that you can put into this fantasy, the more you can see who you are. It's the act of doing this, the benefit of it is you're stepping outside of yourself and you're comparing your roles and responsibilities to other personalities in your life. And that exercise and that act helps you understand who you are, your true personality. And the fact that we've removed the addict or alcoholic or whatever you want to call them from your life in this visualization helps kind of separate you and them. Because oftentimes what happens when we fall in love with someone struggling with addiction is we cling to them so much and we feel so responsible for them that we feel like we're intertwined with each other, like our limbs are the same, our hearts are connected, we are one, which is not true. So by not allowing them to enter this visualization in any way, you are giving yourself permission to view yourself as a separate entity. And I understand if you're busy right now and you can't do it, fine, do it tonight, when you're trying to fall asleep in bed. But again, the more details you go into, the more you will see yourself and your priorities in your life and what are your gifts? Where's your comfort zone? Who are you? And then what you can do is take a look at your behavior in this visualization and your choices, and then you can sit there and go, build on that. Tell yourself, that's actually great. Like the fact that I can do this, that I'm, the quiet behind the scenes person not looking to get any credit, that's very humble. And that's a very important role. Or the person that is out there being exuberant and has great oral presentation skills and is a good storyteller and is the handshaker and the joke teller. That's a very important talent too. That's a great gift to be. That you can build confidence off of those traits. Or if you're type A and you have everything organized and you've thought through all of the details and you've kind of given out orders to people about where to be and when and to show up, that also is incredibly important and wonderful. So identify yourself in this visualization. Maybe there's another personality that I haven't mentioned that you can identify with. Great. Expand on that. But this is about recognizing who you are without your loved one in your life. Whether you choose to stay or not is not important, so that you can feel confident about you, so that you can give yourself permission for feeling good, so that you can start to see yourself in a different way, in a different light, and you can appreciate yourself. And I think when we start to build confidence about ourselves, we feel less trapped in this relationship. We feel like we don't have to stay because nobody else will ever want to be with us, which is what a lot of addicts try to convince us, right? They try to convince us that we're just unlovable, that, we're terrible, we're nags, we're horrible people, and that if we ever left, we would be alone for the rest of our lives. That's one of our greatest fears, isn't it? But if you can start to build confidence, you can see, oh, like my daughter, this person or this school might not actually appreciate who I am, but there's thousands of others, or however many other schools out there that will value these answers. And there are thousands of other people out there for you that will value you. But it has to start with you. You have to value yourself. And the way you value yourself is by knowing who you are. And the way to know who you are, one of the ways, is to use your imagination in very weird scenarios, like I just explained. Okay, so I hope you had fun. Is fun the right word to describe that scenario? I don't know, because it involved the death of someone. So maybe fun is not the right word, but you know where I'm going with this. Now, for my personal story that has nothing to do with addiction. So if you're only listening to me and you're not interested, you can stop now, and I wish you well, and I'll talk to you next week. For those of you that are, I have a really funny story. So every Friday afternoon, my husband and I have a date. You guys know we have a gazillion kids, so finding time to spend alone together, actually just being alone in general. It's so funny. I was married to an addict for so long, and I was always scared about being alone, and I never wanted to be alone. So it kept me stuck in this very unhealthy relationship. And now I have so many kids and a husband that works from home. I'm never alone. I'm never alone, guys. I was like, during coronavirus, towards the end when they were all homeschooling, I was like, okay, I'm ready to be alone. Like Mercy. Either they go or I go, but someone has got to go. Anyways, it all worked out. They're all in school now. But my husband and I go to date night on Friday. Every Friday we go to this restaurant and we talk about life goals. So we have, of course, this is a me scenario. This is not my husband. Of course, I do this. But we have it broken down into 6 categories, or I broke it down into 6 categories. Who are we kidding? And he plays along nicely because he's such a wonderful man. But we come up with goals for each one of those categories. It's like one of my favorite times of my week. And so we went to this restaurant that we always go there, same time, same week. And I normally every day like wear workout clothes or, shorts and t-shirts. But on these date afternoons, I dress up. I do my hair, put on a little makeup. I make an effort. And so we go to this restaurant and we're sitting there, and it's right by a hospital. So it's very common to see doctors in scrubs come in. So I'm sitting there with my husband, and this doctor comes in with his scrubs, and he's got his cell phone and his other looks like it's like the hospital phone or whatever, because he's probably on call, and he gets something to eat, and he's out of my husband's eyesight, but I am looking directly at him. And he keeps turning around and staring at me. And this is where I think it's hysterical. I'm thinking, well, my outfit blow drying my hair really paid off. I mean, this man cannot stop looking at me. This lip gloss must really be working. And then it kind of got like a little uncomfortable because I couldn't help but look at him. I wasn't looking at, but I kept noticing him turn him around, and I was like, okay, all right, okay, settle down, buddy. I know you're a doctor, and you probably got a lot of women, but can you not see my ring? I'm here with my husband. I'm madly in love. Like, it's never going to happen. Give it up. This is what I'm thinking in my head. And then I even mentioned it to my husband. I'm like, this guy keeps staring at me. Like, it's very uncomfortable. Can you believe? And I'm thinking, my husband is so lucky to still be with a woman who's 43 and gets looks from these guys. So the restaurant has a bunch of windows around it. Like it's just floor to ceiling windows, and you can see outside. And when you look outside, you can actually see the hospital. So I forget the doctor, and we're talking or whatever. Lo and behold, a couple minutes later, the table behind me gets up and walks out of the restaurant. I can't see them, but I see the doctor. His head is following this table. And this table was full of 20-year-old girls that were gorgeous. And his head just kept following and following. And then for the rest of the day, he never looked at my table or me one time. He's looking at the table behind me, guys, at the 20-year-olds. I thought that was so funny. I told my husband, I was like, here I am thinking I'm all that and a bag of chips. And although, yes, I still have self-confidence at 43, clearly he was looking at the younger women half my age. So there we go. That was a little bit of humble pie there, which I loved. So I thought you guys would get a kick out of that story. So, all right, this is your homework, guys. We are going to work on figuring out who you are, what makes you wonderful and special and unique, and really, really a terrific human being, because you are. I know you are. That's all that I attract to this podcast is nice, wonderful, kind people. And so you are one of those. Let's just assume that. And then let's celebrate that. Let's actually recognize that and tell ourselves that. And let's practice this and see how we feel about ourselves. If you practice it every day this week, I guarantee you the next time you hear me on this podcast, you're going to feel better about yourself. And next time somebody puts you down, whether it's a family member or a stranger or your loved one, you will be able to have gained enough strength to be able to say, yeah, that stung and that hurt, but I'm going to reject it. There's no truth to it. This is actually who I am, and I know who I am. Do you know who you are? Have you done your work? Because I have, and I feel very, very secure in everything that I have to offer. Do you hear me? That's where you want to get to. And you can without a ton of work. Not complicated, okay? I love you. I believe in you. And I cannot wait to hear how this works for you. So if you want to share your stories with me, I'd love to hear them. You can email me and my team passes it to me, or you can go in the secret Facebook group and share with our community, because I love that group, and I love that it's a positive place to celebrate one another and our victories. We are a unique group of people out in the world. There's a lot of people who can relate to us that don't talk about it. But it's really special when you find somebody who can. And in the Facebook group, actually, it's amazing how many best friends have occurred. Like women becoming best friends with other women who they met in this group. It blows me away, but we have a ton of women who have done that. So I love that it's a safe place for us to be us. And I like that it's positive and not just, more complaining or criticizing on the internet, because who needs that, especially nowadays, right? Okay, I love you guys. I'll talk to you next week. And thank you for sticking with me through my weird visualization. I won't do that again, I promise. Okay, bye.
This podcast is created for your support, encouragement, and entertainment with Michelle's personal thoughts and beliefs. From one woman to another, bonded together by the fact we love someone suffering from addiction. This is not intended as a substitute for therapy or advice from a professional.